Welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be talking about Pascal's wager. Now, Pascal's wager is an argument presented by a 17th century French philosopher with the last name Pascal that humans bet with their lives that God either exists or he doesn't exist. And Pascal's position was that people should live their life as though God exists and seek to believe in God, because what they would be gaining if they believe in God and God does exist far outweighs what they'd be losing if they did not believe in God and God did not and God actually didn't exist. The argument is that if you believe in God and God exists, you will be rewarded with heaven, and that is infinite pleasure. Whereas if you do not believe in God and God turns out not to exist, then, well, one, it's eternal damnation, and two, what you would be losing in that situation is only finite luxuries in life. The wager is going to be using, the following logical premises in order to make the argument. The first one is that God either is or God is not. This is going to be based on the law of the excluded middle, and the argument is that reason cannot decide between these alternatives, in saying that we can't have any proof of God's existence or his lack of existence. The second premise is that a game is being played where heads or tails will turn up. Again, this is all resting on it's either he is going to be or he isn't going to be. And third is that everyone has to play. You have to play because you're alive and this is reality. And four, you're weighing the gain and loss and winning and wagering that God is. Estimating the two chances: if you gain all. If you lose relatively nothing. And the fifth premise is that you should wager without hesitation that he is, because there is infinite to gain and a finite number of things that you're actually going to be losing. So it always seems logical to bet on the side that you have the most to gain and least to lose. And Pascal actually admits in the sixth premise that it's actually not possible for some people to believe, but he argues that you should at least try to believe. You should try to figure out how to believe in God, because you want to be on the right side of this bet. So, simply put, I disagree with Pascal's arguments for a couple of reasons. The first is going to be the corollary on his first premise. God is or God is not. Yes, the law of the excluded middle is correct, but I don't think that reason can't determine between these two alternatives. In fact, I think that that's just an excuse to abandon reason, and it's how he's trying to make his game a 50-50 chance. With reason, we can examine consistencies or inconsistencies over time, and we can determine, just based on how things are defined, whether or not it's actually possible for them to exist. So, when we are looking at a boxing match, if you're giving two people in a boxing match and you're just asked to pick randomly who you think is going to win, well then, yes, you've got a 50% chance of picking the correct answer as to who's going to win, because only one of them can win. But each fighter does not have an equal chance of winning the match. You can look at other factors and determine which fighter has a better chance of winning based on their past performance, their training, which one is older, their height. So, yes, in a blind scenario, there's a 50-50 chance that you'll pick the correct answer, but the odds shift when you take other factors into consideration. Pascal, by asking you to abandon reason, he says that you have to abandon reason because reason is useless in the decision, is making a mistake. The person who abandons reason and gives in to this wager actually has the odds stacked against them, as opposed to someone who's actually using reason. It's going into a betting situation where the other person has more information about what they're betting on than you. So that argument right there actually takes out both the first and the second premise. The second premise that it's a game of heads or tails. Next, I disagree with premise 4 in the logic used behind the wager, and the premise 4 is that going to be gaining more than you were going to be losing in the wager if you bet on God. I think that is only true if you happen to be a person who doesn't care if what you're doing is right or wrong. Now, it may be true that if you're just going to try to weigh the infinite versus the finite, then maybe premise 4 has something, but you're still risking a whole lot in premise 4. For them to, it's generally, when people use Pascal's wager, they say you're risking relatively nothing. To abandon reason and your ability to determine odds on faith, on the chance that you may get some infinite reward, that seems sort of inherently immoral to me. Honestly, you're abandoning your ability to know right from wrong, or to have any chance of knowing right from wrong for yourself, all based around faith. Because, according to Pascal himself, you can't actually know whether or not God exists. He's just asking that you act as if he does, and to believe in him if you can. Well, by doing this, you're forfeiting your ability to know the correct answer as far as morality is concerned, and you may very well be taking the risk that you're being a very shitty person by taking this bet. So, from these premises that I disagree with, you can tell that I'm also going to disagree with 5, that you should wager without hesitation that he does exist, and they're for the reasons I listed previously. The next proposition and final proposition in his wager is that some people can't believe. This is something that I wholeheartedly agree with. And the reason for that is your beliefs, all of your thoughts happen as a result of your experience. Even your experience of your thoughts can produce other thoughts. For instance, banana. Now, none of you were thinking about a banana up until I said banana. It's your experience of hearing me say banana that has made you think about that. You couldn't have chosen prior to that to just start thinking about banana. You would have had no reason to. And just like in a scenario with God, you can't simply choose to believe in him without having any type of experience of him. Whether you actually believe it or not is going to all ultimately fall back down to your own experience. So I don't think that you can actually just choose to believe in God. Which Pascal would actually agree. You can't actually just choose to believe. It has to be something that you either do or you do not. This right here is why I think that the idea that a person could be sent to hell for their inability to believe, because none may get to the Father but by me, according to Jesus, is that it's pretty immoral to send somebody to hell for their inability to do something whenever you created them with that inability. That's neither here nor there on Pascal's wager, but I think on principle, even if there was infinite to gain, I would still decline the wager, just standing on principle. Alright now, so in summation, I believe that Pascal's wager should not be taken for moral reasons mostly, and secondly, because he's actually wrong about the odds of the bet. Whenever he precludes reason from the situation, he does so without any justification in doing so, and you're actually getting odds stacked against you whenever you exclude reason from your taking of the bet. So that's my take on Pascal's wager. I hope you've liked this video. If you did, please actually like the video down bottom and subscribe, hit the little bell, and I'll see you again next time.